Welcome to the Institute of Asian Studies at University of Brunei Darul Salam. I'm Victor King, Professor of Borneo Studies here, and today I'm talking with Professor Ooi Keat, Professor of History at University of Science Malaysia, Penang, who's visiting the Academy of Brunei Studies here to undertake an edited project on Brunei, which I hope we'll talk about in a little while. Let's just move on very briefly. We were talking yesterday about this other project, the joint project we have in relation to, I'm not sure that we've actually decided on a firm title, but something along the lines of pioneers and critical thinkers in Southeast Asian studies. And this too has a checkered history, but we think we're coming to some kind of conclusion to it. Can you just say a little bit about that?
First of all, it was a great compliment coming from you were my doctoral supervisor. It came from you. Probably it's because you kind of missed the boat on the encyclopedia. Then you mentioned to me that we should be working together on something. Okay. Then it brought to my mind again that we have many scholars that talk about Southeast Asia itself, bringing even new ideas, etc. But there is no single volume or easily available to know about these people. Like, for example, like Plural Society.
Furnival's
for example, or like talking about emerging communities. I mean, of course, the publications are all over the place, but as a sort of like as a set of single volume, about all these and various disciplines. Of course, being trained as a historian, I'm partial to history, but of course, as I know, if we work together, your background of sociology, anthropology, and geography will enrich the whole thing. So my idea was have an 8-volume work under different.
I remember those early said, yes, yeah.
Very ambitious.
So you're going from 3 volumes to 8 volumes. So
very ambitious.
Very ambitious.
So, but I think that I'm very confident that together with both our strengths and the networks we have, etc., I think we could come out something very plausible. You see? So of course I approached my commissioning editor in Routledge.
Yeah, you have a very good relationship with Routledge.
Yes. So, but he immediately said this is a major work, because previous to that I did 7-volume work on Nicholas Starling's publications, and that was under Routledge Major Works. Okay, so I already had had already relationships with them.
Okay, so you did intersperse 3 volumes with 8 volumes. You did 7 on.
It was an edited volume. I edited Tarling's materials all in one whole set, because it was disparate here all over the place. He was able to retrieve and bring back everything, and so it was a sort of a beautiful experience, being a historian and reading all about literally his whole career after leaving Cambridge.
Well, a major figure in Southeast Asian history.
Yes, I mean the late emeritus Nicholas Starling. So I thought it would be good that we can do this 8-volume work, that type of thing. So I approached him, and Campbell, the guy there, he said, "Oh yeah, of course." And the contract came very fast.
Yes.
Yeah, but the problem on our side was we were distracted. Too many distractions. So until in the end, they had to sort of close their department. And so later we move on to Springer. So now Springer is very keen on it. We haven't signed anything yet, but we are still negotiating. So, and they go for a single volume.
Yes, yes. So 1600 pages.
Because for them, they say from the marketing strategy, if you do 4 or you do 3, if one is sellable, what about the other 2? So it's a very smart move. Another smart move was they said, as you go along, if you finish this section, we'll put it up on the internet.
Yeah.
So, and of course, it will be paid. You have to pay for
so
access.
now we just got to write it and put it together. And
yes. As long as
which is a major change. I mean, that's going to be a major change because I've already been writing in anthropological contributions to our understanding of Southeast Asia. I've done something on sociology. I'm now into geography, and I've got the archaeology and prehistory. You've got all the difficult stuff. You're doing politics,
history,
more modern history. Classical and modern history. What else have we given you? Economics.
History. I think international relations and political science.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Then you cover sociology, anthropology, early history, and geography.
And the idea is that I think the original idea was when we thought of the 8 volumes, then it was reduced to 4, now 1. That we would reprint
some of the seminal papers.
Some of the seminal papers of the major
scholars.
figures.
So basically, it is actually a biodata about the personality, the individual, a bit of his background, etc. Then his major works or major contribution. Okay. Then, if possible, I mean, not everybody we will reproduce that work, not necessarily. Then we pick and choose that certain, or maybe we have abstracts of certain passages which is very pertinent of that person's work, okay, or maybe 2 or 3 pages of it. I mean, it depends. We can balance it off, you know. I mean, we don't have to have the same sort of more or less the same for everybody. Everybody you must have that, you know. So that you can have a variety. A variety.
I think it's an exciting project, and when you begin to look at the personal histories, the biographies, in 1 or 2 cases, the autobiographies of these major figures who've contributed to our understanding of Southeast Asia, you begin to get some rather different views about Southeast Asia and the way it has been constructed, as it were, but particularly in the post-war period, and some of those, I suppose, the popular myths in a way of when it's largely an American or Western post-war construction, the region and so on. But then you start delving back into the period before the Second World War and so on, and realize that that there were, like von Heine-Gelden, for example, as a key figure, and the fact that the argument that somehow it was an externally generated region in that period. When then you look at the important researchers, writers in the University of Malaya, for example, in Singapore first of all, and then Kuala Lumpur, who were already writing and seeing Southeast Asia as a region, particularly in geography and history. And so we're going to look at some of these figures as well.
I mean, I see them as the thinkers or the pathfinders. I mean. Opening up a new vista of area studies, especially very popular during the 60s, 70s. I mean, especially 50s and 60s. So,
and even so, we tend to think of that period as even so, it was kind of generated within Southeast Asia, within University of Malaya. Also, University of Rangoon, of course, before the war, with D.G. Hall being there, Luce and others, all contributing for various reasons to the definition of a Southeast Asian region, I think. And I think really for Hall and others in Burma at that time, seeing it as separate in some way from India.
And China too.
And China. So. So I'm really
like
rather
excited about autonomous
but these,
area on its own.
But these were not all expatriates. Then you had the as it were, indigenous or local scholars being trained as well. So Wang Gongwu, of course, coming through.
Yeah,
and,
Wong Lin Ken.
Wong Lin Ken and others. Yeah. So that was a very important
up and coming
period
Southeast Asians themselves are contributing very major ideas. You know, I mean, whether it's from Philippines, Singapore, or Vietnam, or Thailand, or Indonesia, which is actually very comforting. We do have, but of course, I mean, you have to understand that there are not so many of them. Is because the higher education at that time was not up so high at that time, you know. So their generation, you know. So probably like what you mentioned about University of Malaya was like a catalyst of these new young people, the generation, and to go on, you know. I mean, so I suppose we do have. I mean, the guy in Indonesia, Kato Dijo.
Satono Kato.
Yeah. I always couldn't.
He was one of my great stars.
Yeah, you
because
see.
I reviewed his, his work on peasant uprising.
Yeah.
Strictly Java.
Satono. Pak.
And I met the guy for the first time. He came to the UK for.
You met.
But at that time, I hadn't realised, and I don't know the history, the kind of medical history of this. But he was blind,
all the while.
Whether he was in that early period when he was writing these major
I didn't know.
works on Indonesia, but later, and such a charming man. I mean, it was great. It was great to meet him for the first time because I had admired his work so much. This was, of course, before the great James Scott. Moral economy of the peasant. But there were people writing about these issues well before Scott. Satono was one of them.
And it's like what probably you say homegrown in this region. You know, I mean they are thinkers. You know, I mean already they are thinkers, and even I mean like Rizal. I mean Jose Rizal. I mean they were all very advanced in their thinking. And also in their activities, etc. So I think it's very exciting.
I'm looking forward to this. Yeah. We've got to squeeze out time.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. Well, I've been talking for some time now. Just the last question to you, Jin. We've talked about the kind of chronology that you've moved from, as it were, the colonial period through to the Japanese occupation, and now the post-war period, and you're looking at the Cold War and so on. And this is a current and ongoing project. Is there anything else that you're interested in, or that you're going to pursue in your forthcoming retirement? I understand.
Yes.
We should say that they retire you earlier than they retire us in the West. That you're still relatively young in comparison with me.
Mandatory in Malaysia, we retire at 60.
At 60,
Yeah. So for myself, it is next year.
You're retiring
next October. On your birthday.
I hope to come for your retirement party.
Another
of my former PhD students, Jayum Jawan, who was professor of politics.
He's my senior.
He's just posted on Facebook his big retirement party.
Wow.
Lots of familiar people, friends, turned up to that and so on. So I just posted something to congratulate him. But I hope you get the same kind of send-off.
I was thinking actually in my post-retirement, actually a few projects in mind. Basically, also dealing with Borneo. Sort of like trying to look at Borneo that has always been on the sidelines of history from way back, many centuries ago. It's always I think I told you the title, always the bridesmaid, never the bride. Okay, never the main show. It's always a side show. Despite Borneo being the third largest island in the world, and if you look at the map of Southeast Asia, it is actually
geographically, physically central.
Exactly. But it has always been sidestepped or marginalized. Even the trade routes are off it. I mean, for that matter, even just to recall what Raja Charles did was open up Bruketen, which is Muara Damin in Brunei. And Raja Charles is one of the stingiest person that I ever read about. On his honeymoon, Rani Margaret said they only had biscuits and water.
His poor wife, she had a really rough time. Margaret was constantly suffering.
So
with
for
Charles.
him, who is so parsimonious, about money, he even allowed the Royal Navy, the British Royal Navy, to get coal free of charge. They didn't even want to come. After Singapore, they went straight up to Hong Kong. They wouldn't even make that detour to get the coaling.
Not even Labuan. I mean, Labuan was a coaling station, but
Labuan is actually a very sad story.
Another sad story.
Oh, another sad story. That will be another story.
That's another. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, of course, Labuan will feature in the whole Borneo, Balambangan, and all those other stuff. All being neglected by people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this will be your
I hope
one of your many future projects. Okay.
And also, as you, not to say you push me, but I was doing something on my hometown of Georgetown, which has been published in your tourism and UNESCO World Heritage. Which I also published in various other things all about Georgetown. So maybe I should be more.
So you think you'll do some more work on Penang, on Georgetown?
Yeah, a bit more inward looking rather than looking outside all the while. But that has been always a sideline for me.
Yeah. Okay, I think with that, Jen, I probably exhausted you. We've had a long conversation and actually catching up on news, and you reminding me of things. As I get older, I forget.
No, you're not.
I forget, and but filling in, as it were, the gaps in our kind of personal relationship over a long period of time.
It's so beautiful. We keep crossing paths along the way.
Yeah, we do. It's nice, and long may it continue.
Yes.
So with that, my sincere thanks to you, Jin, for taking time out of your busy schedule. And I'll now leave you to have a spot of lunch, I think, and then you present the paper this afternoon on Borneo and
the Cold War.
1950, 1990, the Cold War period, which I shall eagerly attend, and then maybe we can have a meal afterwards. That's good. So thank you very much indeed. Thank you. Yeah, good to see you again.